Hi guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. My name is Nicole and I'm the brains and the beauty behind Yarn Craft by Nicole. And today we have lots of fun things to talk about. The first is my Barbie cardie, and it's so cute. This is a hexagon style cardie. I think y'all can see the seam up the back. The way I made this, I did not use a pattern, is I did 2 hexagons that were the exact same size. I think I did 29 rounds, and I usually wear around an extra large. And this is a thin sport weight yarn, so that helps. And then once I got the 2 hexagon sizes to be a size that I thought made sense for me, mainly I was looking for this depth to be a comfortable depth. I did 6 rows just on one side of each of the hexagons to make the back a little bit wider. And then I did a single crochet round around the entire thing, seamed it up, like you can see where I seamed it there, and did a couple of extra rounds on the sleeves, ending with a reverse single crochet, one of my favorite ways to finish off a piece. And then I added this fun like white pop on the edge, but I really like it. I had a blast wearing it at Comic-Con. If you haven't seen my Instagram post, go look at that because it has some very cute pictures. I was really bummed, honestly, that the Barbie booth did not have a Barbie box like they used for promos to get ready for the movie, but it didn't. And it honestly took a couple of tries to get a good picture there, just because they had a pink light, which then made you look pink. And I think they changed it later in the day, but regardless, very cute pictures of this, very cute pictures of my husband and my baby, Melody wearing her Mayday hat, and Vaughn being Peter B. Parker from Across the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen that movie, highly recommend both. Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, they're both great. Can't wait for the last one to come. I think the last one's gonna be Beyond the Spider-Verse, whenever that one comes out. But they had several people that were like, hey, can we get your picture? Which was really fun. And Melody, she did great at Comic-Con. She partied hard until she literally fell asleep on Vaughn, and we like switched her so she was facing in instead of out. But she did a great job. So that is this. I used Hobie Twister Solid. It is a cotton and acrylic blend. I really, really like the way it feels. I like the finished product. It is a little splitty. It is a little tangly if you do purchase it. I think well worth it in the end because this is gonna wear so beautifully. But just FYI, full disclosure, a little splitty, a little tangly. I found it was much better to not use the center pull from the outside, even if you're a center pull fan. Pull from the outside with that yarn. I also have another finished object, and I debated which one to wear for y'all today, but I actually wore this yesterday, and I just put pictures of this on my Instagram as well. And this is the Captiva Crop, and it's just beautiful. I love it. I used Terrapin Fiberworks, her Pima Cotton fingering weight yarn. I don't remember, might be called Atlantic. I don't remember the name of the base, but all of her bases are great. I really, really like it. I probably could have sized down. I made the 2X, probably could have sized down. It's not really that noticeable on the front. On the back, a little bit more fabric than I probably would have chosen, but I think the circular yoke neckline is just beautiful. Draws all the attention to your face. I made the sleeves a little longer than the pattern called for. I made the top a little longer than the pattern called for as well. I think I did 1.5 more repeats on the sleeve. I think just 1 more repeat on the bottom. I will say that the ripple bottom, I could have had this finished a lot quicker on our California Adventure, but I just could not read and I kept getting the bottom part wrong. And I'm still not 100% sure that I did the last round of the bottom correctly, but I like the way it looks and it's wonderful. It's going to be another summer staple that I'm just going to reach for every year. I love it because, like, from a distance, and this is what, because I went to my local yarn store on Saturday when I wore this, she was like, I like it because from a distance it looks like a neutral, and then you get closer and it's a rainbow. Like, I can't decide if it gives more like unicorn mermaid vibes or almost like a seashell, but I really, really like it. It's a magical colorway. It's Hate Street, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. And, oh, I also went up either 1 hook sizes or 2. I used an F hook. Probably could have used, and that would be another thing that would have made it a little smaller, but I really liked the drape I got with an F. So that is another change that I made to this. I usually use an F with a fingering weight yarn. I think I tend to be tighter rather than looser crocheter, but I think I could have gone down a little bit on the hook size as well. I honestly might make another one of these at some point. I think it would be really pretty to have like probably a slightly more cropped one, maybe with long sleeves. I don't know, but I love it. Captiva Crop. She also has a Captiva tank that is also very pretty, but I really liked the circular yoke of the Captiva Crop, and that's by Murphy Made Crochet. And I have one more finished object that I literally finished this morning, and so it hasn't been blocked yet, but this is going to be the mini, I think I'm going to call it the mini mooner scarf. I had a pattern 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago called the Honeymooner Wrap that I really liked, and I thought it would be beautiful as a mini scarf, so I made one. I mean, you know, you could wear it almost like an ascot. You could wear it in your hair. I'll probably take pictures of it in more than one way. And I'll probably, like, if I were gonna wear it, I would probably double knot it, or like knot it instead of just draping it over, but I really like it. And what else I like about it, besides like just having, and it's just a quick gratification project, so that's good. But also I used one of these. This is 50 grams of, it's not labeled, I would say it is a light DK. When I tested it, light DK, heavy sport, but 50 grams. And you have a project in crochet, which typically eats yarn more. So I really like it. This base is Baby Soft from London Nord, and it is a cotton soybean fiber, which didn't know was a thing that you could, but I should have, because I feel like you can do anything with soybeans. It's very soft, it's very lightweight, perfect for summer. So I'm hoping to have this out as a pattern, I don't know, within the next week or so. I had the Honeymooner Wrap tested when I released it. It's actually the only pattern I've ever had tested in that way. And so I'm pretty confident that I don't need to have something like this tested, because it's using the same stitch count. Like the way that I wrote the instructions for the increases and the decreases should make sense. So, and it's just a simpler, smaller version of it, but I really like it. I think it's super cute. It would also be great for gift making, because I think that this took me 2 or 3 days. And that's with, the first time I did it, I used a bigger hook, and I did not like I didn't like the gauge. I didn't like the stitch, like how many stitches I had. I thought it should be a little bit more. So anyway, I played around with the gauge a little bit and came out with this, and I really like it. Still needs to be blocked, but other than that, it is ready to be written up as a pattern. So very happy with that. And I wanted to get this pattern out this summer, and I think August still counts as summer. In my former teacher brain, August is fall, because that's when school starts back, at least in Georgia where I taught, or July. I think this year they started, like in my mom's county, that they started on July 31st, which is wild to me. But I think this can still work as a August release. I haven't really posted anything about this on Instagram yet, partly because it was such a quick workup, and the other part is that I didn't want to pigeon myself into a deadline. But I also I don't know if I want to make another one in a hand dyed or not. I really like the way that it looks in a tonal, and I like the way that it looks in a more budget friendly yarn. I think this yarn at my local yarn store was, I don't know, let's say around $10. And I have a whole project. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I think I'm going to call it the Mini Mooner Scarf. Let me know if you think that sounds silly or if that sounds great in the comments below. I thought about calling it the Honeymooner Mini Scarf, but that just seems like too many syllables. I think Mini Mooner Scarf makes more sense. But yeah, that's my other finished object. And then I have 2 whips. One whip you have seen before, and I've just started back at it after taking a break for a while for a pattern test and then Comic-Con projects. And that is MJ's temperature blanket, which is coming along pretty well. I'm trying not to pull out any stitches. It's beautiful. So I've got stitch markers, goodness, on the side. So she was born like halfway through December, so this is like until the stitch markers December, and then that's through January. This is through February, so I'm working in March right now, and I'm getting into some of the warmer temperatures, which is when we did our grand road trip, when we drove from New York to Georgia to Kansas City and back home. So I just got through the Georgia week, and then I'm now crocheting, I think, through a Kansas City week. But all of the colors that I have for this, like the pastel colors are the cooler colors, the more intense versions of the pastel colors are the warmer temperatures. And I'm using Stone Washed. I really like the way that it works up. I would say it works up more like a DK than a sport weight. I'm using a G hook, and I'm just doing a linen stitch, 1 row every day. And I really like it. I do wish that I had taken into account that the linen stitch does draw up a decent amount. But I think after I finish it, I will do a border and, I don't know, maybe pin block it and steam it, try to get a little bit more width out of it. But I do really like it. I think it's going to be great. It's very soft. It's very cozy. I am a big fan. The other project is a blanket. I do not generally buy baby blanket patterns. I do not generally make baby blanket patterns that other people have written. Partly because I do a lot of scrappy baby blankets, or like I have a clear idea in my head and I just go with it. And then I've written just one pattern for a baby blanket, but I've got a couple of other ideas, which may or may not happen this year. There's one that would be great for football season, so I kind of want to do that for football season. We'll see how how time permits for that. But I did buy a pattern for a baby blanket called the Color Wonder Baby Blanket Pattern by Janine Miska of Knits and Knots. And it's basically a riff on a log cabin quilt square. And I really like it. I am using, and this is for a friend of mine who is due in October. And they're not finding out the gender of the baby. So they are, with her first baby, I made a gender neutral baby blanket. And so I'm doing the same with this one. And I picked a bunch of colors that I thought they would like. It's mostly greens. I think these are all the colors that will be in it. There'll just be more of each of these different shades of green and yellow. I haven't decided. I might throw some orange in there too. The person I'm making this for is not a huge fan of bright colors. So I'm trying to keep it relatively neutral, but I love this pattern. Part of it is it's very potato chippy because after you finish a section, you just want to get to the next section and see how those colors play together. And I think it's going to be great for future scrappy blankets as well. And I did find out that there is a Project Linus group that meets at my local library. So, and I have a lot of acrylic yarn right now that I need to like use up. And I think this blanket, I think it calls for 8 colors as written, but it's so easy to do as a scrappy blanket. So I'm really liking it. It's been hard for me to put this down. And the other thing that makes it hard for me to put it down is that so many of my projects have been very thin yarn. And this is a nice worsted and it flies. So big fan of this Color Wonder baby blanket from Knits and Knots. And that, I think, oh no, those are all my projects. I do have yarn. So we went to California, and whenever we travel, I like to go to local yarn stores, and my husband likes to take me to local yarn stores. And we were visiting friends that also know that that is something that we like to do. So they took us to one. And my goal was to find something to make MJ a amigurumi mermaid. And I have yarn that will work for the tail, for the hair, but I didn't have a good skin tone yarn for that. And I was hoping for a wool. And so our friends who have a 7-year-old daughter, they helped me find a good skin tone yarn for MJ. So we got this beautiful sueño from Haiku, and it's gonna be perfect. I love it. It calls itself a worsted. I think it calls itself a worsted. The yardage is probably about there. I will say I have bought from Haiku before the sueño, which is a 80% merino, 20% viscose. So it's got some bamboo in there. It's very soft. But I found that their yarn weights are a little bit thin. So what I'm hoping to do is to use this for the skin tone for the mermaid. And then I've got some fingering weight that I'm going to hold double. And I hope that that's going to get me close enough to do this. Because I mean, honestly, looking at it, I think that's going to work up a lot closer to a DK than a worsted. But yes, very excited about that. And then I don't think I pulled it up, but I also found another Zobber ball for the blanket. So excited about that. And then I got the July Terrapin Fiberworks Steep Club yarn. I will tell you that the tea for this month might be my favorite. So far, I think the mango yerba mate, which has a lot of caffeine, was my favorite before, but this one is called Peachy Lemon, and it's like a white peach tea with lemongrass, and I'm about to make a picture of it because it's delightful iced. But this is the colorway Zesty. I think it's going to go beautifully in the blanket. I hope that once I finish, well, I mean, now that I've finished writing up, or once I finish writing up, I guess, the Mini Mooner pattern, hopefully this week I can get back to doing the squares for these, because I still haven't done June's either, and I really like them both to put in the blanket. But yeah, I think that is all that I have. We had a great time traveling. We spent the first half of the week with friends, and they got to meet Melody. She had her first flight. She did great. She slept like an hour and a half of the 5-hour flight on the way there, but didn't get crazy fussy not being able to move around other than in our laps. And then on the way back, we had a red eye, and she cried for the first, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and then slept the rest of the time while Vaughn was holding her, which was awesome. She needed it. And then the flight was okay. The time change was hard on her. I think the first 2 or 3 days, she was just a little bit fussier and just harder to get down for naps. So we're in a new place, like it all makes sense, but she was a trooper. And then the second half of the week, we did Comic-Con with my husband's siblings, and we all had an Airbnb, and they all got to see her, and his brothers had not seen her since she was like 2 weeks old, and his sister had not seen her since she was about 4 months old, if that. Yeah, like 3.5, maybe 3 months old. I don't know. She's very, very little. And she is 7 months old now, so she's doing a lot more than she was then. And she was just great. She was a trooper. She did a great job. We definitely were much more chill this Comic-Con than the first one. I think the first one that we did together, we were trying to do it all and, you know, trying to take in everything. And it was all during the actors' strike last year. But this year, we just were a lot more laid back. My husband got to meet the voice actor for Ahsoka and from the anime series, Ashley Eckstein, I believe that is her name. And that was great. That was wonderful. She's delightful. So we had a good time. We had a really good time. It's good to be back, but it was a great trip. And I think what I can't let go of this week is, I don't know if you've ever seen the ads. I think it's called a Mambo Baby, but it's a float for babies in the pool. And my mom got MJ one, and we used it this week, and she loved it. She just became a little fish, and I just can't let go of the fact that we're gonna probably be using that a lot more the next couple of weeks while it's still very hot. And it was pretty much the cutest thing ever, because we had gotten her one that was a disc, like what I remember, like an inflatable disc, and for whatever reason it wasn't structured enough to keep her upright. Like she kept falling forward or back. We were in the pool with her, so she wasn't gonna, nothing bad was gonna happen. But this is like a foam, like a firm foam, and it like has them lean forward and then they kick behind, and it has a sunshade. It's fancy, but she really enjoyed that in the pool. So excited about that. Excited to just get her used to the water, and you know, get her comfortable there so that we can be safe in the future. I should be back on here in 2 weeks, and I'll see you then. Bye guys, have a great week.